All right, let's rock. It's right at six.
Nice.
Well, welcome to Life's Co-Pilot. Tonight, I'm very excited. Rotto is here. Knute can tell us a little bit about what he does for a living. He basically helps you find a place to live as a senior. I also know another little sideline is he helps you have that talk with mom or dad about giving up the keys. So he can be the bad guy, and you don't have to be. So I'm going to let him tell a little bit about that. But tonight he's talking about something different than that, and it's something that I think a lot of people need to know about. It is a thing called. But it's called ACAP. And ACAP is basically a resource that I wish I would have had for the last 20 plus years. I'm the only sibling that stayed in the state. So I've been helping my parents and in laws and uncle walk through all of the labyrinth of senior care and living and resources and medical and oh my God
hmm
things. Okay. And
hmm
without a guide, it was one of those things that we were kind of, bumping our head in the night in the dark. So that's one reason. The fact that is the reason Life's Copilot exists is to get this kind of information out to people for free that you can learn from and not stumble through the dark like so many of us have. And Knute's organization, I mean, I'll let you tell more about that,
hmm
is a phenomenal brand new resource to this market. So, Knute, why don't you introduce yourself, what you do for a living, what pays your bills, and then get
There you
into
go.
this ACAP thing. So,
Thank you, Jim. Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm Knute Rotto with Senior Care Authority, and what I do for my day job is to help families like Jim, navigate the senior living space. And so, understanding that there are so many different resources available, how do you navigate that? And you can go to Google all day, you can go and try to figure that out. But until you kind of touch and feel and understand all the different nuances, um, that's why you kind of look at me and say, hey, can you help me guide? So I'm a guide, I'm a navigator. I help the families figure out, hey, I want to live on the west side of Carmel, or I want to live in Zionsville area, and I'm looking for a two-bedroom, one bath for my mom and dad. Can you help me find that? And so I can, I know the nuances, I understand the places. I can also help you with the pricing and the guides and set up the tours, do everything for you. And so you really are just an opportunity to kind of come along for that ride and be, uh, well, I guess, filter out all the different noise that's available and then allow you to really understand what is the best place and best fit for your mom or dad. So that's what I do for a day job. And as Jim also alluded to, I can assist with the difficult conversations that you have with your mom or dad about driving. And maybe it's time to retire from driving, as we call it. And how do we do that with dignity? And how do we help them kind of kind of take that next step and say, look, maybe this is not the best use, and there's high liability, high risk. Can I assist you with that process? And yes, I can be the bad guy. I can be that professional person, that third party the intermediary between the parents and the senior parent, and really walking them through that process. And I've got an assessment process that I use. It's been certified through, it's called Driving uh, Beyond Driving with Dignity, and it was built by a Ohio State trooper who um, had the unfortunate uh, duty to tell a lot of folks that people have been passed, on his job as a state trooper, and felt like there was a way to give back, and so he built this test and he built this assessment, and then we and Senior Care are certified to do that. So another piece of the pie, right? Another
yeah, I
opportunity to
do
have
want to point
that.
out one thing on your services. I would have literally killed to have known one of you guys that do this,
Mhm.
back when I was, trying to find places,
Right.
because it's so hard to keep track of all these places and which ones have the
Yep.
right kind of care and all the different things
Yep.
that go into the process. And I made a mistake one time of calling a national chain. I'm
Mhm.
not going to say anything beyond that
Yep.
because I had a very specific question. I could have Googled and found things. But I had a very specific question. I was trying to find a place that would have a back door to
Mm,
the room and a little patio that we could put like a little picket
mm,
fence around so my
mhm.
mom could let her dog out.
Yep.
That was what I wanted to know. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And I called that place, and rather than them actually ever telling any of the people that story, my phone rang worse than the Social Security renewal time. Well, not Social Security, but Medicare renewal time. I was getting
Yep.
like 10 calls a day. They're
Yep.
like Zillow; they sell the lead to
Yep.
400 places,
Yep.
and that is not what you guys do. And I just was going
Mhm.
to say I would
Yep.
would definitely want someone that's going to walk with me like a buyer's agent for real estate as opposed to just
That's
somebody online.
that's often what I say is I'm like a realtor
Yeah,
where and I forgot to give that piece. My service is free.
yeah.
So I help the family find that place, and then my payment is through a referral fee with an agreement with all the different senior communities. So some people will argue, well, it means you're only going to direct me to two of them or three of them. I'm like, no, I have 100 agreements with 100 different communities all over the city, all over the area. And so we'll go wherever you want to go. You tell me how it fits, and then we'll find that right fit. Like a realtor. You know
Yeah.
what? You want to be on the west side, east side, north side, wherever you want to go. One bedroom, two bedroom, what kind of suite, and everybody has a different cost structure. So there's board and care and service level and pet fee and second person and dining room versus not and comprehend. I don't know. There's just so
Oh yeah.
many things.
We live going with a place that we went for mom. Uh, she doesn't go out to eat to the dining room, so she hasn't brought in. Well, we were looking at two different places. One of the places was going to be $1,200 a month for them to bring it to her. The other, this place is bad enough, but it's not. It's
Yeah,
not 1,200 a month, So
right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, just those little nuances add up over time, and that's where I come in, is I can help navigate that process and assist families in that so that they're not so shell shocked. First of all, I'll give it to them up front and say, here's your spreadsheet, here's the numbers, here's the things to think about first, here's the websites to take a look at, and then once we make those decisions to go to tour, we figure that out.
yeah.
So again, in context, why this next piece, right? Why ACAP and what does ACAP mean? So ACAP stands for Adult Children of Aging Parents. And as Jim alluded to, he was an adult child of an aging parent, fit that mold perfectly. And the genesis of this was 13 years ago. There was a lady in North Carolina whose name is Frances, and she was in Jim's shoes the same way. And she suddenly had a mom who was ailing, and she couldn't figure out how to find any resources. She's like, "Holy cow, what do I do?" She started Googling, she started visiting, she was getting exhausted, couldn't figure out, and different stories from different places, and it's not all standardized. So when she go to one place, she thought she had a good deal. Then she went to another place. Well, that sounds even a better deal, but was it really a better deal, or am I just getting jerked around, right? So you start questioning yourself, how good is this and what is it? What's the right place? So for her, it became a lifelong mission to say, I want to build an educational platform that allows adult children of aging parents to have a free service that they can go to once a month, that they can get educated on all the different needs and services and resources and supports and things that I should know about that sometimes I don't even know I should know about. Help me understand what that kind of journey looks like. And so she's from the academic world. And so she started taking that kind of frame of reference and all the different. So she's piloted it for 14 years. And about 5 years ago, decided, you know what? I wonder if I could take this kind of public, right? If I could branch this out. And so she tested it out in a couple communities in Atlanta and has now since then honed this model where you're able to replicate a chapter. And so we're a chapter of acapcommunity.org is the national brand, and they're out of North Carolina, but there are now 20 chapters across the country, and I think 10 different states. And so Indiana was the first one in here. Our name is called Indiana Metro North. So it's ACAP Indiana Metro North. And the idea is that we are taking the platform that Francis built, and we were able to then kind of buy that platform, build a chapter here, and then now put it into practice. And so for the last 2 months, we launched in August or in April, had a great turnout. We had 89 people show up, which was just kind of blew us blew us out of the water because we thought we were only going to have 20 or 30. And then this last month we had 40 that showed up. And so it's not just about the numbers, it's about how do people find you? And then is it a good resource? And do people like the content that they're getting? And is it helpful to them? And our goal, it's a free service, right? So here's my pitch. It's a free service every second Tuesday of every month, 5:30 to 7. It's at the church at the crossing, the Haverstick, and it's called the Gathering Place, which is door number 10, 5:30 to 7. It's about a 60-minute program. We have a little wiggle room there. Start about 5:45 for the program because we've discovered that this kind of north side traffic gets a little sticky at times. And so 5:45 to 6:45 is that window of that program. And that each program is unique every month and it's different. And the intentionality behind that is it was built off the platform of AARP's annual kind of state of the state address that they do every year. And AARP builds these reports that say, hey, what are most people looking for? What are the seniors and their families needing? What are the things that we're getting the most questions about? And so they, along with the NAC, which is the National Association for Caregivers, um, have two reports that are launched. And so from those two reports, put them together to say what are the top. Really, we have a curriculum that has 52 different topics that we could talk about each month or each week. But clearly, we only have 12 months, so 12 topics we picked. We've decided this year we picked the top 12 that are the most sought after, most questioned, most wanted topics. And that's kind of how we have done things. And then what we do is take the topic, find good presenters in this community, come on in and speak about the topic of the day. So, like for example, the first topic that we did in April was just a global overview of the senior system of care, all the different services and resources that potentially could be available, and really help folks understand what's kind of a community-based level, what's a stay-at-home age-in-place level, and then what's it when you get into the living in a senior community level, what does that look like? And there's some complexities to all of that. So helping folks understand that. That was the first one. This last month, we did preventing falls and helping folks understand how important it is to fall proof your house, that falls lead to broken hips, which lead to rehab, which lead to loss of mobility, loss of independence, which can really lead down to the level of, not being able to stay at your home because you can't fall proof your house or you can't move anymore because you can't navigate the steps and the trips and falls. So there's a lot that can be done, and 80% of the falls are preventable. But we also know that 80% of the time seniors go to the ER is because of a fall. So it's like, oh man, we've got to talk about this because that's really a preventable piece that can keep people at home and age in place. And so with that, this next month in June, we'd love to have people out. It's shielding loved ones from scams and fraud. We know that that's a hot topic, which again, every day, don't we all get stuff on our iPhones and on our emails just loaded up? I got 3 calls today from folks that are they either ghost you or they're trying to sell you something you didn't want, and or they're trying to trick you into kind of opening up that PDF that they send to you and then get into your personal business. So again, the idea is a free service, a free resource. It's a nonprofit organization, the ability for us to kind of meet monthly. We're now recording it. So we will then be placing these programs on our website, and that will then allow folks to also see them. So if they've missed them, they can come back and see them again. And then we'll build up a library of all the different resources that we've done. So yeah, we're really excited. We have a volunteer board of 11, um, and it's a good leadership team of a nice cross section of folks. Our goal is not to replace anybody. Like you have Life's Copilot. Well, it's a nice augmentation to what we're doing. We all there's an there you can't have enough information. You can't
Right.
have enough education. And if you get it from one place and another place and another place, that might be the winner because then people will go, "Oh, look at
We don't
this."
know where someone's going to finally hear something,
Yeah.
and so, and
Yep.
maybe, or listen, or finally get their attention or what
Yep.
have you. It's like,
Yep.
myself, I had no idea, that this stuff existed in a lot of places, because
Right.
because I knew what I thought I knew. Okay.
Yep.
But like, for instance, an example, I think I was mentioning this to someone else just a few minutes ago before I got on here. So I'm trying to remember if I talked to you about it, or it was somewhere at my front door just a few minutes ago. But anyway, it was, um, I had no idea what hospice was. I was absolutely confident I did know. Okay.
Hmm.
Everyone knows, right? It's a
Hmm.
morphine drip for the last 2 days. That's what I thought it was. The
Hmm.
reality is that is kind of what most people get because they don't know what it is. And so they wait until the last second. After I got into the senior services and started, as you know, we have a very robust, I don't know if you want to call it networking,
Yeah.
or
The
our
network.
groups that meet
Yep.
throughout the city, and we learn a lot from each other in these places.
Yep.
And so I started learning some things about what it was. My dad would have benefited tremendously for the last 2 years of his life. I didn't, what we got from what we didn't know, what we didn't know,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so my dad, the doctor ordered hospice for him, and the hospice lady arrived 5 minutes after dad died. So we were so thankful because she took care of the paperwork, right?
Hmm.
But I had no idea all the benefits that she would
Yep.
have been able to bring to
Yep.
him for 2 years, and what would have benefited my mom, who was the caregiver,
Yep.
at the
Yep.
same time.
Yep.
So, once I didn't know what it really was. Well, now some of us who are in the industry do, but if you're not in the industry, you probably still think like I thought.
Right. Right.
You know, and most people think that you have to be poor to get Medicaid assistance. Well, that's not true either. Okay, so there's
Right.
so many different, and most people, the veterans, give up on trying to get their VA benefits because it's complicated, and
Hmm.
so they don't know who to ask to make sure the
Hmm.
I's dotted and T's crossed and what have you.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
these are life changing things.
Hmm. Hmm.
In fact, I got angry. Well, this is how I started Life Scope Pod. Just kind of give you an idea where it came from.
Hmm.
I have a
Hmm.
tendency to do things when I get mad. Okay, and so
Hmm.
it was. I know that when we were trying to, in my own experience of trying to take care of my family, my father-in-law was a veteran, and we were trying to get the VA in attendance because we needed the money to help them into assisted living.
Yep.
And for 18 straight months, we get rejection notices. Okay.
Hmm.
The senior living community just handed us a form, said, here, fill this out. Okay. So we
Hmm.
did. But it kept getting rejected because this I wasn't dotted right and T wasn't crossed right, whatever it was.
Yep.
I've since learned that like 80% of people give up because of those kind of things.
Hmm.
Well, on like the 18th month, I think my father-in-law had passed, but we still needed the money for her. And
Hmm.
so I got mad, and my son was campaign manager for a local congressman. So I called him, and within 24 hours, we had the money. And I'm going, you shouldn't have to know a congressman
Nope.
to get this done.
Right.
And well, later on with my uncle, I learned to go to an elder law attorney, which I did, and within 2 weeks we had the money because he knew
Hmm.
how to package the paperwork, right?
Hmm.
And but that's stuff that people don't know, and they don't know that you can do these things. They don't understand and so people burn through all their money. I've heard people getting divorced so they can afford
Yep.
to put one into assisted living or whatever, or
Yep.
to, like, nursing home.
Yep.
And none of that stuff is necessary. There's all these different programs and services out there, but most people don't know about them, and they don't know how to access them, and that's the crime.
It is the crime. You're right.
And
I agree.
right before I started Copilot, I was saying there was an article in the news, and it was not a local one, but it was salacious, so it got some pop. It was an elderly couple who committed suicide because they were overwhelmed with bills and not thinking they
Mm,
could afford things.
mm,
And I'm reading the article and I'm going, this is I can understand their their concerns and I can understand how it could weigh on them. But I go, the sad part is there's no need for it because there was plenty of services out there that would provide
yep.
for these, but they weren't aware of them. Okay, and I
Right.
said that and so I made a comment on Facebook. I showed that article and I said this isn't necessary. There's things you can do.
Yep.
And I said you can get money for Medicaid waiver even if you're not poor. Okay,
Mhm.
and I had someone ask me about it. He was going through, and I don't know who he was. He was just somebody that I'm connected on Facebook, never met him.
Mhm.
And so he made some kind of comment about his mom's going through it, needed help. So I told him I go call Socoa, be the first place to go.
Mhm.
Well, unfortunately, this was fairly early in my journey through this labyrinth as well of learning all the different backdoors. Socoa is wonderful,
Mhm.
but it depends on who you get. If you
Mhm.
get some new hire that the phone and he or she opens the book and reads the rules, that's what happened to him and said that you had to have under
Mhm.
$2,300
Mhm.
a month in income. You had under 2,000,
Mhm.
so it said you had to be poor. And I'm going, well,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what the rule is, but you could put all this other money in this trust, that trust, and that
Mhm.
trust, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden you qualify for all these things.
Mhm.
And so I was able to show him that.
Mhm.
And that's what
Mhm.
and so now, like on my Scopel, I have a whole, if you go to our YouTube page, there's a whole library of videos you can go in and pull up
Yep.
at your leisure to find about stuff. And that's what you guys are doing. I'm
Right.
thrilled that this is coming,
Yep.
so
Yep.
the more people that are doing this, the better.
Right. Agreed. And that's also why we brought it is, as I've gotten into this senior business, I've been in it for 2 years. I have parents who are both 88 and navigating on their own, aging in place, kind of stubbornly, as I say. They're up in Minnesota, and I'm like, I don't know if they're doing it very well, but I need to understand I need to understand what's available for them. I need to understand how do we do it smart and safe and efficient, to protect them as much as we can, but at the same time have independence and dignity so that they can do what they want to do, but then recognize the risk, right? If they didn't have me to help navigate that, we would be messy. It would be a little messier process.
Right.
And I just spent
And
a
then you're doing
weekend.
it from states away, so the rules are
I'm
different.
multiple states
Yeah.
away, and I'm like, oh. So I did go up and spend a weekend with them. I went through their trust, discovered that they had a revocable trust, not an irrevocable
Yeah.
trust. They didn't understand what that was. They didn't understand the difference. So I said, I think we should probably get an irrevocable because your assets are above $100,000. And, there's risk that you continue to drive. And I think we need to have some protection of your assets. Oh, maybe we should get a different umbrella plan for your car so that because you're so doggone stubborn, you aren't going to drive and you won't listen to me. So
You
let's
need to find someone like you up there to
I
talk.
know, I know. I'm like, well, you don't listen to the sun, but maybe you listen to a third party.
Mhm.
And then the other piece was they suddenly discovered that they had a long-term care policy. And I'm like, well, glory, hallelujah, where'd you find that thing? Oh, we've been paying it for 25 years. And I'm like, well, hello, why have we not talked about that before? So, I mean, it ended well, it's ending well, or and it's in a better place. But the point is, if you don't know what to ask, right? And as I didn't know what to ask 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even 2 years ago. So now getting into this business, I'm like, oh, now I know what to ask. And now I know how to figure this out. And great lawyers that we have around who cue me up and go, $100,000, got more than those assets. You should have an irrevocable trust. We can build that for you. Here's the powers of attorney. Here's all that kind of stuff. I didn't know all those things, and you don't know. And so here I am in the business, and I'm like, okay, I have a whole bunch of friends that I talk to, and they look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, look, if your parents aren't there yet, I'm going to educate you, and here's a platform, and here's a piece of information that you can have on a regular basis. And if you don't want to see it today, see it in a month or two or in a year from now, because we'll have like you have, a nice, treasure chest of information that you can then sort through, and it doesn't get old. Some of this stuff will age well. Other stuff will have to be new based on new laws or new findings.
Or if you're in a different state, you may have to do some things differently too.
You
So
might
yeah,
have to do some things differently, but at least you have a sense of, oh, that's what I'm supposed to know. Okay, let me go find that out, right?
I always figure if we could get you to where you go, oh, I should ask about this.
Yes.
Okay, if we can get you there, that's a big step.
Yep.
So
Yep.
um, it's like, for instance, things that people don't realize. With my uncle, when we were dealing with him trying to get things in, he had too much asset, too high of asset to qualify for the VA in attendance at the time. It
Yep.
really wasn't that big of an asset, but at the time, and the rules have
Yep.
changed since then, even
Yep.
that's a higher number now. So we were instructed by an attorney to move, an elder law attorney, not just an attorney. You got to make sure you got
Right.
somebody that knows what
Right.
they're doing, because it's a very specific part of the law. And we moved everything to an irrevocable trust
Hmm.
so that it wasn't in his name per se. So that he
Yep.
qualified. And that made a huge difference. That was like
Yep.
$2,500 a month coming in to
Yep.
care for him. And then um, when the community we were living in, or he was living in, became Medicaid waiver approved, which made me
Hmm.
sleep better at night knowing that
Yep.
we're not going to have to move him, no
Yep.
matter what. And then when um, his 5 years look back, and you don't have to wait 5 years. In his case, we had the luxury
Yep.
of being able to do that.
Yep.
And so we went back to the attorney, and then we went to go for the Medicaid waiver. Well, now he made too much money between his Social Security and
Mm.
his VA in attendance.
Yep.
He was making about $1,200 a month too much to qualify for Medicaid
Yep.
waiver. So
Yep.
then we did a Miller's Trust, which is an
Yep.
income protection trust,
Yep.
and took that out of there, out of the equation. All of a sudden, he qualified, and
Right.
we had a new problem that we'd never had before: figuring out what to do with all of his extra money.
Yep.
You
Isn't
know,
that a great problem to have?
oh, it's phenomenal.
Right.
But people don't know that these things are there. They don't know how to
No.
deal with it, and
No.
that to me is a crime. And so we're trying.
No.
That's why what you're doing.
Agreed.
So let me ask you a question: is somebody is finding out about you guys now? They find out that you're, every month at the same time, the same place, same
Yep.
channel.
Yep.
What if they have questions between times? Do you guys have like a resource for people to reach out to, or?
So you can go to our website. You can go to our email, and all the flyers that we have, everything that. And if you go to our website, it has all that information. You can have a phone call. There's a phone call. It actually rings me. There's an email that we have, a special email for everybody that they just type in for Indy Metro North at acap.org, and we'll answer those emails on a regular basis. Yeah. So I've had a couple phone calls. Folks have called in and said, "Hey, I was at your uh, event the other day. Here's my question." And I'm like, "Great. That's why we're here." And so we can
And
then
those questions
also,
don't have to be about the event. You've got
no,
a lot of
no, no, they'd be
resources.
about anything. And this was not about the event. She was like, "I had another question about somebody I was talking to at the table said this information. What is this?" Hey, you know what? Here's two people to call. Here's the first one. I'd call that one first. If you don't get the information, call the second one. And so we will then network with all of our network and make those referrals, slash referral call, so that people can get the information that they need to get. I'm not gonna know all of it either, right? Like as you said, the elder law attorneys have very good knowledge of that nuance that I don't have, and I'm not even going to claim to be a lawyer. So no, I'm going to guide them that direction. The financial advisors have a lot of more information than I do, so guide them that direction. We just have a nice network, and so that's the beauty of ACAP is we've got a great network, and we do. I don't know if our network is so unique in this town, but man, it is robust. I have never been part of a professional network in all the other professional pieces that I've worked in my career were so robust and so helpful and so collegial and collaborative. It's like, wow. And everybody can call everybody.
it's very different than what my background. I was from the real estate background, and so you had realtors, and then you had the supply companies for realtors. You know, your mortgage companies, your title companies, whatever, that
Yep.
would get together at things. But it was rather than so collegial, it was very competitive.
Hmm.
Okay, and it was like trying to,
Hmm.
one-upsmanship or what have you to a degree.
Hmm.
Um, Everybody's afraid that they have the secret sauce. If they tell anybody anything, that
Right.
they'll lose their edge, which is BS. I've always tried to tell people that. But I will say this, like we have, I have a joke that you can't swing a dead cat by the tail in a room and not hit three hospice people. But
Oh yeah.
there's so many
Totally.
different of the ones and the different vendors that I
Yep.
don't see that kind of thing. There's a great deal of resources like, well, if I can't handle this one here, call this one, do whatever. And
Yep.
there is a very good, robust sharing going on. So I know
Hmm.
myself I'm still dealing with my mom, right? So
Yep.
I have care issues, and many of the people that I'm leaning into to help care for my mom are in a lot of those rooms
Yep.
that we're at
Yep.
because I know them,
Yep.
and it makes my life. In fact, I sleep better at night knowing that if something
Absolutely.
happens, I can pick up the phone. I've got three or four different people I trust that I could call for
Right.
any different thing.
Right. Right.
Now,
And I think that's again, that's just to tie that back to ACAP is that that's the goal to build
yeah,
a community so that that community can show up once a month, even if the topic is not, you're not really interested in the topic, come and visit because you know what? You might ask three questions at that table and get your life changed because suddenly you're like, whoa, this is great. I have now new resources, new information, a new friendship, or somebody just to call and say, hey, let's go do coffee. Let's figure that out. And again, that's the goal of this, not just all educational, but let's build a community. Um, because we also know that the younger crew, this kind of 40 to 50-year-old who are we call the sandwich generation, right? The ones who are squeezed
I've been
between
there, but I'm past that at this
we're
point.
all kind of past that now, but when we were, I'll be the first to tell you, I was totally blinded to this process. Not a clue, and also didn't feel like I had to worry about it, had to care. Mom and dad were doing fine, grandpa and grandma, or my wife's mom and dad are doing fine, kind of. But I look at it going, well, man, if I had only known some of this stuff, I might have done these things. I might have set up the irrevocable trust quicker, set up all those legal documents quicker, not waiting until this last minutes and that's not really last, but just like more in a panic phase of, holy
Well, our
cow.
family basically got really, really good at waiting till the last second till there's an emergency, and
Yeah,
then we had to have something figured out by that weekend. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
the idea of planning ahead was never really something that seemed like that was part of uh, our setup.
yeah.
But there are things out there that people know about them, that
Mhm.
they can have, and like you say, they come to the ACAP meetings and they meet some people. If they meet some people, they kind of think, well, I kind of trust this guy,
Yep,
whatever. They may not need what your service is, but you can put them with people that, like I always tell people, I go, I have a really big Rolodex in the senior world, right?
yep,
And I go, I know a little bit, and one thing, but my scope, I'm interviewing all you guys all the time, so I
yep.
feel like I know a little bit about a
Yes, you
lot of
do.
things, okay?
You do.
But
Yep,
I know who to call that know a lot about a little thing,
yep.
whatever this
There
little
you go.
topic is, just let them deep dive and you
Right,
go figure that out, so,
right.
and they'll take care of you.
Yep. And that's kind of the goal is how do we help educate and just give them an inkling of information, one little hot tip, one little piece of information that they can go, ooh, maybe I should check that out. Oh, yeah, maybe I should figure this
Just
thing
to
out.
know it exists that they need
Yeah.
to try to learn about it.
I mean, look, we all have been in this boat where we're sitting in an ER or we're in a rehab hospital and suddenly discharge planning happens. And now what do we do?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Now
They
what am
usually
I
give you
supposed to
like
do?
an hour notice.
It's like, here we go. Now
Yeah.
what are we supposed to do? Or, I've sat in the ER and I'm sitting there going, okay, we're getting through this crisis, but life is changing. And now what am I going to do? And I've got 48 hours to figure this out. Somebody can't drive. Somebody's got to figure out how to get them to and from places. We got 10,000 appointments over this next 7 days. Somebody's, some people are supposed to work to still make money. And how is this all going to happen? Like, whoa. you're thrust totally.
And
And that's just
it
that's just that moment. Then
until
what do you
you
do with life?
you're the rehab, you're the hospital, you're getting
Yep.
ready to be discharged. How many people know that with Medicare they need a 3 overnight stay for Medicare to pay for the rehab or your
Right.
private paying? That's massively big deal to know about.
Yeah.
You know, we one time missed that 3 day mark, and we got to have a $30,000 out of pocket next
Yep.
month.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But now I know of some rehab hospitals that don't need that 3 day
Mm. Yep.
rule. So it's kind of like, okay, it's nice to know these places are out there because it can
Yep.
be really expensive not to know.
Right.
Um, I was just thinking of, with Medicare,
Hmm.
and that's all part of what you're doing here is getting these information out there. I was talking to Bruce one time, and he was talking about, one of the ladies that he was meeting with, some of her meds were not she was not in the right kind of Medicare program, and it
Okay.
was costing her $30,000 a year more
Holy cow.
than she was supposed to, and he was able to get her switched.
Yep.
But she's been doing it for years.
Right. Right. And not thinking that they should ask, maybe there's a different way, right?
Yeah,
Because they just assume, oh, I'm in the program. I guess that's the consequence. I have to pay it this way. Ryan Levengood will tell you the same thing about hospital. He goes, there are different ways to do this, and we can get you in, and it doesn't cost you as much. And here's the way, how do you
yeah.
navigate that? We have experts across the board in all these different specialty niches that that I just hope the public hears us and says, okay, help me figure that out. Because don't Google it, don't try to figure it out on your own. Ask some of us who have already navigated this process. And if you haven't navigated it, know who to call right away and then say, hey, talk, because that's the
I just had a
goal.
client that we helped with a process, and when we were talking, I'm going, have you looked at this? And I end up setting her up with a couple other
Hmm.
professionals. And one of the things was she said that she had looked at GTP or whatever
Hmm.
and told her what to do, and it
Hmm.
was 100% wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
it was going to be many, many, many times more expensive
Yep.
if she did that. But
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God, no.
Right.
Talk to here,
Right.
and she was like, she thought that we walked on water, and I'm going, just ask questions, and not
Yep.
necessarily some computer bank.
Yes. The computer bank, there's also, my competitor that's online is a big aggregator.
Mhm.
They've never seen the communities. They don't even know what they look like. They don't even know where they're living. I heard the other day a lady called me and she's like, "So, are you a real person?" And I said, "Yeah, I really am. I'm resident for 28 years of Indiana." "Oh, well, okay. So, I just got this referral and I was told by the place we will not name, that this community, senior community, is on the west side of Carmel, and I want to be in Fishers." And I'm like, uh-huh. And I bet you got that from them. And she's like, yep. I said, yeah, they don't know. They haven't Google mapped anything, but they also have not been here. And
Right.
so just be cautious, folks, of what you're getting off of AI, what you're getting off of Google, what you're getting off of, any of these national aggregators that they're great at spamming the crap out of you and telling you, hey, here, find me, find me, find me. But they don't know the communities. We will go into the trenches with you and say, hey, find this community, find the best fit for you. And that's
Yeah,
the
there's
beauty.
and you get into a situation where you've got people like, for instance, the ones of the ACAP group and the ones that are, what have you, what the ones that I've run through there and others, a lot of them are
Yep.
the same. We all know each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
We know who the better players are, and I would recommend you talk to this person first type thing.
Yep.
Um, and we're not getting compensated for that. It's just
Yep.
let's see if we can help that client.
Yep.
And I think that most of us, that from what I have seen, the ones that are doing this, the trying to be more of an outreach, have all been on the other end of the stick,
Yep.
dealing with family members, trying to figure out how
Yep.
in the world to gather all this stuff.
Yep. yes, it's all for the right reason.
Mhm.
And that's that really is the intent. And I mean, ACAP is a volunteer piece, right? It's
Right.
voluntary. We're not getting paid.
Yeah.
The point is, how do we help educate the community? And there's a lot of community in this metro area that don't know and don't understand. And yeah, just again, trying to hint, maybe there's a way to do it differently. Maybe you don't have to pay an extra 30,000 a year on your medicine when in fact you could just change the program and change the whatever designation. So yeah,
Well, I'm in the process right now of trying to recruit someone into this world, um, because my mom needs a optometrist to come
mhm,
to. It's very difficult for her to get out,
yep,
okay, because of the Parkinson's,
yep,
and so I'm trying to figure out why. And so I started Googling,
mobile.
is there anybody that comes to
Hmm,
senior living communities, to meet with
yep,
you? And I'm not running into it. So I'm asking my senior living partner buddies, and they don't know of anybody.
huh,
So I asked my own eye doctor that
yeah,
made me these, and turns out he is actually looking at starting a sideline business doing
really.
exactly that. So he and I have already met. And I told him, I go,
Excellent.
look, dude, I can be your best friend
Yep,
introducing you to some people. But I go,
yep,
that's a need that is out there.
yep,
And then, we'll put that, they'll be in ACAP. You know what I'm saying? We'll,
yep,
we'll get them, get
absolutely.
that word out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the one of the things, well, I'll tie into that. The lack when they aren't able to drive any longer. This community is not set up for bus systems. Our public transportation doesn't work. So if you're in Carmel,
Well,
if you're in,
driving
if
my
you're
mom would be easier than trying to get her on a bus. I'd never get that
right.
accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but that means we are driving, right?
Right.
So how we don't have the Waymos are even the Ubers and the Lyfts are pretty sketchy. I can tell you a story that just happened this weekend with my mother-in-law, and it was horrendous. So that was like that's scaring. That's scary. And so how do we help them keep their independence? And if one of the benefits of going to a senior living community is they have free transportation. They have
Right.
the concierge service. They'll drive you, chauffeur you all over the place. Well, how can you do it for the folks who are aging in place in a really gentle, humanely kind of way? We don't have a good taxi system here. We don't have a we just don't have a good public system in my eyes. And I'm living it right now because I'm transporting a ton. And I'm like, I can't do this forever. So again, like your mobile optometry, I'm like, how there's got to be some niche fee. Now there's folks who are medical transports, right? Who
Right.
get paid by Medicaid to transport for medical appointments. Yeah, those are great. But the add-on to that is what about that chauffeur-like person, right? That concierge type person who can get them to Kroger, hang out at Meyer with them for a while, get them to the doctor's appointments, and help them with their groceries in, and I mean, just do the little things that I don't know that your
Yeah,
son
there's
draws on.
resources like that. Like I said, when it's like, I'm looking for a mobile vet for, same kind of
Mhm.
thing, for the
Yep,
cat, that type of thing.
yep,
So it's just but as we work as a team, technically, okay, that's what
yep,
that's what ACAP is a team
yep,
trying to figure out how
yep.
to
The team.
navigate for people. So
Yep. We're trying to figure that out. And the more we can share with each other, the better. The more opportunities we have.
yeah,
And the more questions that people have also pushes us to go, ooh, that's a great topic. Let's think that through. Let's
yeah.
figure out who can speak about that.
Well, so do you have a website for people to go back and see these videos now, or
Yes. So we are on ACAP, acap.org/Indy Metro North. I know it's super long and it's super
hey,
frustrating.
text that to me and I'll put
Okay.
it on our video here.
Yep. Find the chat. Here we go.
I was
Uh,
gonna say you just do it by your phone. I'll add it in later. So when I'm programming it in.
yeah. So Indy Metro North is the website.
Okay.
And from that site, you have all the information about the next program, kind of who we are, where we meet, um, the kind of the theme of the program, what we're doing. So this next month is scams and fraud. And then how to get in touch with us. So the email is indiemetronorth@acap.org, acapcommunity.org. There's a phone number on there. There's the meeting address. And then when you register, it's just a super simple registration. We just want to get a head count so we have a sense of how many are going to show up. But yeah, and then it'll eventually. So we've had two programs. The first video was a bomb. It didn't work very well. We didn't we didn't do it well. So they're building it right now. Kind of our back office group that helps support us on the website. They are building out the audio. The audio was good, but the video needs to be updated. And then the this last round, we actually had multiple phones and really turns out very good. So they're uploading that and working on that right now. So as soon as we get those two launched, you'll be able to see them on this website. I'm on the website now. I'm not seeing them. They have not been uploaded yet. But yeah, I think it's a pretty comprehensive website. Gives you all the information you need to know about ACAP, calendar of events, topics that are coming up. Um,
Hang on a second. I'm going to do a screen share real quick because I've got you on here with your ACAP. There's your
yep,
website. So can
there
you
it
see
is.
it?
Yep, I can see it.
So
That's
so
what it is.
basically, it's got all the different information on here for people to do stuff with
Uh-huh.
and how to get in touch with them. And I
Yep.
guess this is the group here.
This is the leadership team. We're a leadership team of 11, and
It's a pretty
they,
strong team there.
yeah, they made a 2-year commitment to kind of be on that team to start it off, kick it off. Um, yeah, they've been
An
fun to
email
work
list
with.
where they will. This basically will alert them to meetings coming up, or what else? What
Absolutely.
else is
So
going
you
on?
can join our email list. What acapcommunity.org, the big mothership, sends out regular promos, information, kind of a newslettery type thing. We don't have that yet. We do
Okay.
social media, quite a bit of that, we're pinging folks for the upcoming programs that we've got. But yeah, the national group does kind of a regular newsletter that just alerts folks to here is a new topic, a new piece of information. So get on our mailing list. That's great. And then again, I think as we mature, we'll have that mailing list. And so if we have some special, who knows, we could say, hey, we're going to do a special event. We've talked about that. Once we kind of get a little more solid, thinking about a special event like, hey, let's have some guest speakers in. Maybe it's a Saturday at 10 to 12 or something, and a couple renowned speakers. There's a lot of experts here in this community, and so we feel like we could tap into that senior expert land, bring folks in. So just some things to think about. Also, just in partnership, one, I appreciate you bringing me on here to talk about this, but I think us together, we share the same passion as Life's Co-Pilot. Same with ACAP. Same with St. Vincent has their healthy living group and a newsletter there. Some of our networking groups that we are a part of all have the same kind of passions that how do we educate each other? So I feel like the overlap is strong, and the more we can keep talking about each other and sharing our resources together, the better off we are going to be.
Yeah, everybody wins, as far as
Yeah.
that goes. So, and then we can help
Mhm.
one family, avoid catastrophe because they don't know
Uh,
better.
it just pains me when I get calls that say, I'm in an ER, I've got 48 hours to make a decision. Now what do I do? I'm like, do you have do you have any of your legal documents? No. Oh my goodness. Seriously? What's their financial situation? What's their house look like? How are we going to get back home? Can we patch it up so that they could stay at home for a minute so we could then figure out the next strategy, right? So yeah, it's sad. It's sad, but also real. And so how do we help folks get out of those scary situations and just be a little more proactive, a little more, hey, let's build a plan together. Let's have something in place. And even if it goes dormant for, 5 years, I'll go back to my parents. Here I am in this business, right? Well, when I went to visit them, I said, when did you last look at your trust? Yeah, yeah, we just did. I'm like, no, when did you, Dad? When did you look at it? Oh, probably 15 years ago. I'm like, okay, not time to look at it. That's way too long. Things change. Minnesota law changes. We got to look at these things. And of course it did. I mean, and what they built was not exactly what they needed. They had an estate plan, but not a irrevocable. So asset protection plan. And once my dad understood that, he was like, "Uh-oh." I'm like, "Yeah, uh-oh. You gotta fix this." And there are several remedies for that, but point being, it can go dormant, but you also need to just keep at it.
Right.
And if you don't have anything, I mean, that's where I just kind of like my eyebrows go, holy cow, people, you've got to have something. Oldest kid, does your mom and dad have a, a trust of any kind? Do they have, I mean, we're sitting in a fairly wealthy community here. All these houses are way more than $100,000. So you got to have irrevocable trust, kind of like bottom line, right? No, it's a no-brainer. Well, do you? Well, I don't know what that is. Okay, here we go. Here's your one pager. I'll hand that to you from Cheryl. Here's what you got to do. Here's a checklist I got from another law firm. You go through all those things and let's have a conversation because you got to get that stuff going. It
Yeah.
just scares me because all it takes is one fall or one accident and one
Yeah,
little
and it's one of
thing,
those things that you do have those things that hit you like in the last second. And you've got, okay, what am I going to do?
more last
And then
second.
now with Medicaid waiver being such a mess right now
Oh,
in Indiana, you've got like a 2 year wait. Well,
yep.
then what do you do
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
meantime? So
Yeah.
there are solutions,
Right.
but you need to know some things.
You do. You do. And you have to be, and there are some creative ways, which again, I appreciate our network because we have some very creative thinkers. And I'm like, ooh, you pulled one out of the hat on that one. That's very cool. Didn't know you could do that. Well, they know how to do those things, which I'm like, thank the Lord you all have studied law and you know the elder pieces and you can figure those things out because that's not something I would have known. And, just having a
Huh,
coffee chat with somebody, I would have not known that. But now I do only because I'm in that network. And
right.
so again, how to help people understand there's a level of urgency if you are sitting at over 40, over 50, and your parents are sitting in that 60, 70, 80 range. Have that quick conversation. Hey, mom and dad, I don't need to know your business, but are you protected? Are your assets protected? Do you know, what happens if who's the executor? Who do you have a will and a testament? Do you have a trust? Do you have a basic documents? And I know that it's an awkward conversation, but
My
if you
wife,
don't have
when
it,
we were in the middle of the sandwich generation, okay, we were dealing with all that.
yeah,
My wife became evangelical about telling people, she goes, if she goes, do you know your parents' finances? She goes, if you don't think it's any of your business, it's going to be,
yeah,
so it's like, you,
absolutely.
yeah,
It is going to be. And if you don't know and you don't make it your business, you'll actually be sitting there with a pile of stuff that you'll be like, what in the world do I do with this? Where do
right.
I start? And it's even more messy. My dad was he's like, well, we got a will. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't protect us from anything. What do you mean? Yeah, it does. I'm like, well, Dad, it's changed. The old days of a will on a yellow scribble pad, that here's my last dying thing, it doesn't hold water. I'm going to sit in probate court all day long. And you know what? The state's going to get half of your stuff and I'm going to get half of your stuff. Oh, well, that doesn't do anything. I'm like, no, that's a problem. Do you want that? You've left an incredible legacy. Do you want that? No, I don't want that. Okay, listen, here's what we've got to get done. So the old generation of a will covers me. No. It just doesn't. Not in this legal world in which we're living in, where we have new tools that it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but a little bit of money to protect a lot of money, and
Right.
also to figure out how to protect all your assets. So,
Well, very good. Well, I will tell you that
Mhm.
we were talking about with my uncle that we had him on the irrevocable, and then we had him on a Miller's Trust. He had 1/10 of the assets that my mom did, but my brother was a financial. That was what he did for a living, was financial stuff. Okay, worked
Yep.
for big things like that. So he knew everything, and so he would listen to me on those things, and he didn't think they were necessary. And when my uncle passed, and there were still assets left on his a small amount of money, and mom's was getting, all of a sudden he was making phone calls. And I've been trying to talk him into this for 5 years, but
Yep.
he
Yep.
finally realized that, well, maybe there's something here, so
Yep. Figure it out.
so it is annoying. And I will tell you with that, the good example there is Google does not have the answers.
No, no. And even the new AI, I mean, I
Yeah,
use AI quite a bit. It's not comprehensive enough. It doesn't understand it. So
yeah,
don't trust that you're going to get the right information or even the direction with AI and or Google and or those landing spots that people go to. That's
yeah,
come to the locals, come to the experts,
yeah.
come to the local who are in the trenches. We're doing this every single day. We have all sorts of questions that people come to us with that, hey, if I don't know about it, I may call Jim. I may call Megan. I may call Cheryl. I may call
Right.
Jennifer. I mean, I'll just call folks and go, help. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Yeah,
Let's figure it out. But that's what our network is. Our network is very tight that way, and we will ask each other questions and then we'll figure it out for you. So,
yeah. Well, sir, I appreciate your time. This was great.
yeah. Thank you, Jim.
And I'll put ACAP's link on there as well.
Appreciate
So,
that. Thank
all
you.
right.
Thanks
Thank you,
for having me.
sir.
Take care. Have a good night.
Take care. Bye bye.